What's going on, good people? You know what day it is. Yes, well, you know what day it is. It's the PHLY Sixers podcast day here on the Thursday as we come to you live from the Xfinity Lounge. But it's also football day as the Birds start the season off, kicking off the NFL schedule and defending their crown, beginning with the hated, stinking Dallas Cowboys at Lincoln Financial Field. And he is ready to my left as he's playing tonight. I don't know what position, I don't know what you're doing tonight, but he's got the hat on. He's got the shirt from PHLY, allphly.com, the merchandise. Look at that. Will loves the hat. It's Derek Bodner.
This is fantastic. So I'm nervous. I'm usually a nervous wreck at the start of football season. Really, any game day, I'm a nervous wreck. Football is like the one that I think it's probably because there's only 17 games. So like everyone feels like a huge deal.
Yep.
And I get to be a nervous wreck. And this might end up biting me. I'm not only excited, but I'm calm. I'm calm about this one.
You should be.
They outclassed them so badly. That Cowboys defense is such trash. I am excited for tonight. It should be a fun time. I'm hoping it's going to be a stress-free time, and I'm hoping I don't eat these words.
You should be calm. Listen, I think they're going to win tonight. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout. Dak Prescott somehow finds ways to score against the Eagles defense, so he will put points on the board. That's going to happen. But I do think the Birds win. And the one thing, to your point, that always gets me, and I'm sure a lot of other fans just watching from afar, is you know what happens, Derek? What happens? Teams that play on banner night, it's always it's like a 50-50 thing. It's a 50-50 proposition if they're going to win or they're going to lose because of the emotions and all. Sure, they're not going to be out on the field, but they know what's happening. They know what's going on out there while they're in the locker room. So that's where I have a little bit of concern, but I think the approach that they've had going into this season, all the things that we've seen leading up from the coaching staff to the players, watching America's game last night on NFL Network, how cool was that again? Seeing these things from the Birds, where they have this other thing where Sirianni is talking to the players in the office and how laid back they are, but motivated and focused to not let this just have them not prepared and not ready to go out there and play and be the team and the players that they know they are. I'm not worried one bit either. And I don't think this is not an overconfident thing. This is just we know they're good.
Yeah. And look, Dak didn't play in either game last year, right?
No, he did not.
And you've obviously got CeeDee Lamb. They added Pickens. Like, they're going to be able to get yards through the air. Like, the secondary is going to have to be there. Obviously, the defensive line is going to have to show up. But, man, they should just be able to run it down their bleeply throats tonight.
Are you not worried about Kenny Clark being, in the trade, coming in, helping out with the nose tackle,
I think they'll be okay. I trust in Saquon.
I was just curious. I was just curious. All right, look, we're 3 minutes in. We're already ready for the Birds. Make sure, number one, make sure tonight that you check in for the pre-game show as the team will have you all set getting ready for tonight's game against the Dallas Cowboys. So make sure you tune in to the PHLY Birds podcast later on tonight for the pregame. Certainly halftime, little conversation there with the adjustments that need to be made, and certainly postgame, all right here on the PHLY network. Check out the team as they talk about everything. Vinny's back. You got everybody. Bo, EJ's going to be checking in. Of course, Jamie's here. So make sure you check into the PHLY Eagles podcast tonight. I'm Devon Givens. Kyle is off. President of Basketball Operations Bree is here. Didn't even do introductions. We're so locked.
Kyle is probably already in that parking lot, man.
Yes, he is. I should be in the parking lot now because it's already, as we come to you from the Xfinity Lounge, we already heard that the Xfinity Mobile Arena parking lot is packed already. Saw some video last night of a guy starting off, it was like 9 p.m. last night down there, getting down there at the arena. All right, folks, listen, we're all hyped for the game. We'll all talk about it. We're presented by Rothman Orthopedics and Ford as well. Visit your local Ford store and visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to make your appointment today if you need so. We got to talk about Cam Thomas. While he does not play for the Philadelphia 76ers, he's going to play one more year with the Brooklyn Nets because, according to Shams, he is going to accept the qualifying offer of 1 year, $6 million from the Brooklyn Nets. It seems like he is no longer reading some things from Nets Daily and some other publications in New York that he is not in the Nets' plans for the future where they drafted 5 first-round picks. They have all these young guys. They traded for Michael Porter Jr., and he is not necessarily in their plans. With this, Derek, as you pointed out, if and when Quentin Grimes does come back, if he does take the qualifying offer, Cam Thomas has a no-trade clause, so he cannot be traded this season by the Brooklyn Nets. So he's going to play it out and see what happens there. This then leads us right back to where we started from the beginning of free agency, where we are sitting at September 4th. Quentin Grimes still undecided on what he's doing, but Derek, does this kind of push it now, all the chips in his? By the way, Jonathan Kuminga of the Golden State Warriors under the same issue right now, waiting to find out what he does. Some reports out there that he may be leaning in the same direction as Cam Thomas with the qualifying offer. I have no clue what's going on with Josh Giddey. They have offered him a contract extension, but not to the numbers that he has liked. So what about Quentin Grimes? We still don't know. There have been reports that we've talked about on the show from $25 million on down. But does this now kind of push that direction of, Derek, maybe you were on something a little bit earlier in the free agent period that this might be a possibility for Quentin Grimes accepting a qualifying offer?
No, it does not. All right, show's over. Let's go.
Cool, let's go.
Birds. No,
Birds time.
Look, I think so. If you read the article from, again, Shams Charania, the Nets basically had 2 offers on the table for Cam Thomas. A 2-year, $30 million offer, which had a team option for the second year. And then a 1-year offer, which had $9.5 million guaranteed with incentives that could have taken it up to $11 million. But in order to sign that higher 1-year deal, he had to waive his no-trade clause. So basically, this is something we've talked about a lot with these 1-year veterans on a 1-year contract. Those 2 contracts, first of all, show that they didn't really care about Cam Thomas, basketball player. They're trying to have, basically not lose somebody without getting something back in return. And we've talked a lot about these 1-year contracts where when you're a veteran and you return to your team on a 1-year contract, you get that no trade clause. It's implicit. It happens automatically. It's just something that happens when a veteran comes back to their previous team on a 1-year contract. And that would have covered all of these scenarios, right? Even that 2-year contract, they define a 1-year contract as anything that, depending on team options, could leave you as a 1-year contract. So a 2-year contract with a team option, in this instance, is counted as a 1-year contract. So you get that implied no trade clause. And it seems like Cam Thomas had no interest in having in giving up his no trade clause. And it makes sense, right? If you're Cam Thomas, you're going, all right, both of these deals stink for me, right? I don't like the 2-year one. I don't want to sign a 2-year one at what I think is below market value because I want to get out on free agency as an unrestricted free agent next summer. So 2-year is off the table. The 1-year deal, yeah, you might get like an extra $3.5 million, but if you have to waive that no trade clause and you leave yourself open to the whims of the Nets, to him, that's not worth that extra $3.5 million. And I get it because there is, let's play this out. He signs a 1-year contract, waives a no trade clause, is traded midseason. You lose bird rights. We've mentioned this a lot with Quentin Grimes in the past, but if Cam Thomas loses bird rights and he's traded, then there is one fewer team that can sign him to the contract he wants next summer. And I don't think that's necessarily a huge deal right now because it's like the Nets haven't shown any real interest in giving Cam Thomas a long-term deal, but it does then take off the possibility of a sign and trade next summer. So he wants to do everything he can to stay on the Nets because he's still going to get, even though they drafted 3 point guards, they're 3 point guards who are very inexperienced, don't have a ton of pedigree, and really struggle to score in the half court. So I think from his perspective, he's still going to get the ball a lot. He's still going to get a lot of minutes. He's still going to get a lot of touches. He needs all of that to showcase himself for his next contract. And he also wants to make sure that he's not traded so he doesn't lose his bird rights. So he basically made a decision of, I could take this extra $3.5 million and give up my no trade clause, or I can give up $3.5 million, but have control over where I am. And I do think staying there in Brooklyn, considering the Nets gave him 2 bad offers, staying there in Brooklyn was a driving force. He wanted that no trade clause. But to me, all that really says is the Nets didn't value Cam Thomas at all. And they probably shouldn't. They drafted a lot of guards, and he's not a great basketball player. He scores. That's it. He's a complete black hole on offense. Doesn't defend. Doesn't really play make. Got marginally better, but he's nowhere near where he needs to be. And he wants big money. So they drafted 3 guards, really 4 if you want to include Danny Wolf, who's 6'11", but he plays like a guard. and they're going to give them the keys eventually. Like I said, I don't think that's necessarily going to impact them too much right now because I think, bless you, I think they need Cam Thomas's scoring, but clearly the future is not Cam Thomas, so they didn't give him real good offers. That's only applicable to the Sixers if the Sixers also do not value Quentin Grimes. And everything we've heard from the Sixers, both before and even after the lottery when they drafted VJ Edgecombe, is they value Quentin Grimes on the basketball court. They're confident he will be back. They want him back. So if they give Quentin Grimes a real contract, Cam Thomas didn't really risk much by taking this qualifying offer. He risked about $3.5 million. Mm-hmm. Quentin Grimes, theoretically, we're all expecting the contract that Daryl has on the table to be significantly more than $9.5 million. If the contract is truly only $9.5 million, then yes, Quentin Grimes could take that qualifying offer. But I don't believe that is the case. I believe that there's a more significant offer out there on the table. And if that is the case, then the equation that's going through Quentin Grimes' head and the decision he has to make is just substantially different than that of Cam Thomas. We always said from the beginning that Cam Thomas was the one most likely to take this qualifying offer. And a big reason is because the Brooklyn Nets just showed no real inclination to give him the offer that he wants.
And like you said, they shouldn't, because he's not a great basketball player, and the direction that they're going is totally different from what he does. Plus the Michael Porter, where Michael Porter has some years on that contract coming from Denver. Yeah. So right now, unless they move him, he's not going anywhere, and he's going to be looking to get a lot of shots. He's already said on his podcast tour, where he probably needs to be quiet, that he feels like he's the second best shooter in the league because the only one he's going to get that to is Steph Curry, and he believes he should average 25-plus points in the NBA. So you know what his goal is now. He's won a championship. He's played second and third fiddle to both Jokic and Murray. He's going to get some shots up, Derek. So what does that do for Cam Thomas? Now, both of them are also two guys that are a little banged up. And in Cam Thomas's case last year, Bree, I think he played 25 games a season ago. I know you already put the stats up, but he played 25 games last year. He averaged 24 points on 44% shooting from the field, 35 from three in just 25 games, though. The year before, he played like 60-plus, and he averaged close to 22, I believe it was. And we know he can score the basketball, but it doesn't drive winning. What we've seen from Quentin Grimes, though, having the chance to look at him in the Sixers uniform when everyone else was down, where we saw him do some things that we thought were translatable to being a lead guy at times when he got hot, but also knowing what his role is and not sabotaging the offense when he's out there with Maxey George, Embiid, and others, including now Jared McCain and VJ Edgecombe. So to your point, it's totally different because of the fact that Grimes is not going to get that type of offer from the Sixers that the Nets threw at Cam Thomas because, again, it's not in their plans. Yeah. And when Morey and the front office traded for Grimes, that was their big acquisition for the offseason. Outside of the draft pick, which was unexpected to be that high, or at least not one that you had prepared for at the start of last season, once you made that Quentin Grimes deal, that was one looking to keep that player within the fold with these other guards in the backcourt going forward in the future at a number that they can come to an agreement on, obviously, but one that they could see as a player at that size with scoring ability, seeing Nick Nurse give him the basketball to run some point as well when Tyrese Maxey was down. Jared McCain already out for the remainder of the season because of the knee injury. Paul George missing time as well. We saw a lot of on-ball work from Quentin Grimes at that point guard position to get a good look of what that might look like for the next few seasons in the Sixers uniform. So that's why we know it's a little bit different than what Cam Thomas is experiencing with the Nets and taking that qualifying offer. I hope that Quentin Grimes doesn't take that qualifying offer because, as we've talked about, he bet on himself. And while we agree with him that he bet on himself and he won, maybe not to the number that he believes he should be getting. It's certainly not going to be what Cam Thomas was offered from the Nets. But again, it's way more than what he was offered from the Dallas Mavericks and where right now the Sixers are, what we think at least offering him right now on the table for a decent offer to remain with the Philadelphia 76ers and play a pretty prominent role as a starter potentially, or at the very least, Derek, a six-man role for this basketball team. So that's where I'm in agreement with you on this one, that he is, just because that happened and Jonathan Kuminga may do the same thing, those two have fallen out of favor with those organizations. That is not the case with Quentin Grimes right now. They still want him here. Not saying that Steve Kerr doesn't want Quentin Grimes or Lacob doesn't want, Jonathan Kuminga in Golden State, but that thing have been going on for quite some time there in Golden State. This is a totally different scenario for Quentin Grimes.
Yeah. And I do want to address something. I think it was from Coleman something up in the chat a little earlier.
Coleman Potts?
Yes, that's exactly who it was. Who, brought up that, he wants Grimes on the qualifying offer because it'll free up cap space. Not free up. Bree brought up Coleman's. Anyway, regardless, he's saying that it'll free up cap space. It really won't. What it might do is it might free up a little bit of room under the first apron, so you can use that non-taxpayer mid-level.
Yeah.
And it'll certainly free up enough room under the second apron so you can use the taxpayer mid-level. The problem is, especially if you're talking about the taxpayer mid-level, you're talking about a contract of about $6 million. And we're so late into free agency that there just aren't that many options out there. So you're talking about a low-level contract that's not going to bring in like a star. It's not even probably going to bring in a starter. So you're talking about a low-level contract, and you're talking about 3 weeks before training camp starts. What free agents are out there that you really want to prioritize? Mm-hmm. We have mentioned this time and time again that it would be a borderline disaster for both parties if Grimes took the qualifying offer. It would be a problem for the Sixers because this is a guy who you either want around on your team long term because he's still a good young player. You might have a little positional overlap there, but he's still a good young player. Or you want to use him as a salary filler in a trade. And, if you have him at $13, $14, $15 million as a salary filler in a trade, that's a very valuable trade chip. If you bring him back on the qualifying offer, again, he has a no trade clause. If he waives that no trade clause, the acquiring team doesn't get his bird rights, which means he's basically just a rental. So you're taking a guy who'd be a huge positive trade chip and turning him into borderline irrelevant as a trade chip. And you're not really opening up cap space. You're opening up a little bit of flexibility to use that taxpayer mid-level. And that's about it. The Sixers currently sit at about $185 million in salary. That's without Quentin Grimes on the books. The first apron, like I said, is $195 million. So they're about $10 million under that. If you bring Quentin Grimes back on his qualifying offer, you're pretty much right at that. You can't even use that bigger non-taxpayer mid-level. You're left with that smaller taxpayer mid-level, which again just doesn't have a lot of buying power. It doesn't have a lot of buying power even at the start of free agency if you wanted to use it back in July. It certainly doesn't have a lot of buying power now that pretty much every prominent free agent is off the board.
All right, we're going to keep this conversation going. On the other side, Cam Thomas, of course, as we've been talking about here to start things off, he is signing his 1-year, $6 million qualifying offer to stay with the Brooklyn Nets. What about Quentin Grimes? We'll read some of your chat. We'll talk about it a little bit more and the implications, of course, with the Philadelphia 76ers. And then later on, we got to talk about a few more things that I don't even think Bree and I talked about this on the second half of the show that we didn't really tell Derek. So be prepared for that one to talk about.
It always goes well.
It always goes well. But it's okay because it's the Birds play tonight. Everything is good. Nothing is bad here in town right now. We'll do it all when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast as we come to you live from the Xfinity Lounge.
And guys, this read is very important for tonight as well. We usually talk about it in the context of watching basketball in the Sixers, but it's equally as important when you're talking about watching football. If you ever head on over to a friend's house ready to watch the big game and you get there and their setup is a mess. It's lagging, it's buffering, and they're switching between apps trying to find the game. They claim that they were a big fan, but you feel like you have been tricked and they could have done better. If you call yourself a basketball or a sports fan in general, you got to have Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination where you can find the best games and your favorite teams all in one place. And the way that you watch, it's next level. Got the action right in my living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K, so clear that it feels like I'm in the arena. And sometimes I've got 4 games on at once as we're all trying to do our jobs. On top of that, I get real-time notifications and live stats right on my TV. It's the best seat in the house every time. Next game, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box.
And if you have decided to, you know what, I'm going to go watch the game tonight instead of watching it on Xfinity, as Derek talked about, maybe you just hop right into your very comfortable Ford Explorer. Yes, our presenting sponsor here on the show, Ford Explorer, America's all-time best-selling SUV, a legacy of family, trust, and performance. So while you're sitting in all that traffic, you're sitting comfortably. Maybe you decide to turn on the air because it's very comfortable and you can relax and turn the air on. You have our show on while you're doing so in your car because you're basically, again, it's slow moving, so the passenger has it on, you don't have it on. You can peek over every now and then, check us out, see what's going on. But if you do want that, Ford Explorer, you don't already own it, like the person's maybe sitting in traffic right now, they offer 3-row seating for up to 7 passengers, great for family and road trips and game days like today. Available rear-wheel drive or intelligent 4-wheel drive for better traction and control. Comes with the choice of 3 powertrains, including a hybrid for better fuel economy. If that's more your speed, you can go in that direction. Available 3.0-liter EcoBoost V6 kicks it up to about 400 horsepower in the ST trim. And I always think of 2 Chainz when I say the horsepower because of what he says about the horse and all on the shirt at the time. Packed with Ford Copilot 360, a suite of advanced driver assist features. How about offering also up to 87.8 cubic feet of cargo space with the rear seats folded down. So maybe if you're not getting into the game, you are in the parking lot and you're tailgating from the parking lot, you have that. So the rear seat passengers get available captain's chairs for extra comfort and accessibility. And while you're at it, listening to our show, standard Apple CarPlay and Android Auto across all trims. So whatever you like for your phone, they have it for you in the Ford Explorer. Built for families, but ready for adventure. A true do-it-all SUV. For more information, visit your local Ford store. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. Derek, Devon, Bree, Kyle's off today, and we have to tell you all about you shaking your head.
No, I'm jealous. I'm jealous that Kyle is off and on his way to the game.
Fair
That's
point.
what I'm jealous of.
Fair point. All right. Well, maybe he'll check in from the parking lot while he's tailgating at the moment from Lincoln Financial Field. All right, folks, let's tell you, though, before we get back to the conversation about Grimes and what this means after Cam Thomas signs his qualifying offer with the Nets, got to tell you about the big brothers, big sisters, and what we're doing here for the month of September. And what we're doing for the month of September, it is Big Brothers, Big Sisters month. It is, Bree, how are we phrasing this? What are we terming this again?
It's the month of giving.
It's the month of giving. So as it's the month of giving, and we're asking you to give. If you can, maybe you didn't because you felt like the tickets were too expensive to go to the game. You didn't want to drop that $1,000 on the ticket to go to the game tonight, or a $1,300 ticket. Maybe you can donate some of that money and send it over to a great cause for the month of giving for Big Brothers, Big Sisters month.
So that's the play. You find a friend that will hook you up with tickets, and then you give back to charity.
I know about that. Yeah. Yes, I know about that. So if you can do that and you can find it within yourself.
No, I just need to find that friend.
Well,
sadly.
I'll do better next time. Maybe Kyle will do better next time. We have us as friends and asking you to extend, again, maybe $1, $2, whatever it is, whatever you can give for Big Brothers, Big Sisters month. We have a goal that we have here at ALLCITY. That goal is $50,000. Right now, we're currently, as I look at it, we are shade under $2,000 as we start off the month of September. Hopefully we can up that number and get it to the number that we ask for, that goal of $5,000 raised by the end of the month. So if you can, please donate. All you have to do is simply go to Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And when you do, you go and find it there. You can also check it out on our page. Currently, as this show is airing on YouTube, there's a donate now option where you can hit the blue button to donate. Right now, we have 25 days left. And if you can, please do. It's the month of giving. Donate as you can, and we really appreciate it here on the PHLY network. All right. Let's continue to talk about this and what it might look like.
I mean, I think one other thing why it makes sense for Cam Thomas to take this bet on himself and it doesn't for Quentin. Obviously there is a financial aspect. Like if the Sixers come in with, let's say, a 3-year, maybe like a 2+1 where he gets like $30 million guaranteed with an option for another $15 million, that's a significantly different amount of guaranteed money that he's turning down than Cam Thomas is, or that he would be turning down than Cam Thomas is. Maybe they even offer a 4-year deal. But I also think there's just as much as the Nets are clearly moving towards the guards that they drafted, and as much as Michael Porter Jr. is going to take shots, it's not like he's taking the place of, a non-option on offense. Like Cam Johnson took shots too. There's still going to be, I think, plenty of shots for Cam Thomas in there. Like I said, a lot of those guards are young players, who don't have a ton of pedigree, who are their individual scoring, half-court scoring is their weakness. They are pass-first players for the most part. Whereas the situation Grimes is going into, which we've talked about a lot, but Jared McCain, was injured when he went on that run last spring. VJ Edgecombe was playing at Baylor when he went on that run. Tyrese Maxey missed the last 5 months of the season. He's walking into a very different environment. There's nowhere near the guarantee that he will get the shots. In fact, there's pretty much a guarantee that he won't get the shots that he had last year to duplicate what he did. Whereas Cam Thomas, I think there's a very real chance Cam Thomas comes out and averages 20 points per game next year. Even though they have the young guards that they want to get
the last 2 years.
Yeah. Even though they have the young guards that clearly are their long-term priority going forward, even though they have MPJ, I just think there's they still need half-court scoring on that team. He isn't a better chance to put up numbers, even if they're hollow numbers, than Quentin Grimes is. So I think it probably makes sense for Quentin Grimes to lock in what he can, even if it's not necessarily what he wanted coming into this whole free agency process.
Theo says Cam is going to be gunning this season, LOL, because of...
it's got to be legendary.
He does it anyway, but you're right. He is really going to be getting off some shots, man. What's his competition outside of Cam? Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
Who is you concerned about? No. Nick Claxton's not shooting.
No, he's going to be a generational shot taker.
And we've seen him do it with better collective talent around. Like even when Kel was there, Cam Johnson was there with him. He is getting his, man. He has put up 50-point games, multiple 40-point games. He can squeeze off some shots and make sure that he gets his while he's out there. So Theo, I do not disagree with you there. I do have this one that I want to ask you, Derek, about, because this
Sean, I do it real quick just because it's in front of me and I'll forget if I don't. Sean Ford saying that there's a report coming out that Nets will hard to play him, and the tank, they basically don't want Cam Thomas to play because of tanking. My guy, I think with the way he plays offense,
he is not winning games.
That's not winning basketball. Nah. I think they're safe either way.
Yeah, Sean, don't worry, Sean. If you watch enough Nets game and you've seen him do this, they won't be in very many games.
Yeah, I think, and look, we'll have to see how it plays out, and that's a risk he's taking. But I think he will still, like I said, I don't think him winning too many games is something they have to worry too much about.
Nah, not too much. All right, let me get to this one before I forget about this one. Why are you so ridiculous? Sends us a message in the chat and says, it's going to be funny when Grimes goes qualifying offer after all the BS boasting you geniuses did about getting a steal because he played better than ever will on average with more minutes. It doesn't make or break us.
You better hope he doesn't take that qualifying offer.
I agree.
I've mentioned time and time again why that is really, really bad for the Sixers. We're not talking about giving him a massive deal. We were never comfortable giving him a massive deal.
No.
$13 to $15 million is basically the mid-level exception.
And that's fair.
And I think he was worth that. I've always tried to separate what he did at the end of the season from his evaluation. I think that adds a little bit of value to him as a player just because you have a tiny bit of confidence he can scale up if you have enough injuries and enough talent at a lineup. But I think if you look at what he did before the trade, he was a really, really good role player. And $13 million, $15 million, that's role player money. People want to take a victory lap because the Nets weren't interested in bringing Cam Thomas back long term. That doesn't really have anything to do with Quentin Grimes and the evaluation of him. It doesn't have anything to do with Josh Giddey and the Bulls' evaluation of him either.
And it doesn't have anything to do with us.
Yeah.
And we would never sit here and call ourselves
It's not like
geniuses.
we were sitting here saying he should be getting $25 million. No. That was never been our position.
No, we said our number basically stops at 18.
Yeah.
So
that was when it seemed like he had leverage. Now he doesn't have leverage. We're talking much. 13 to 15.
Yeah. So we appreciate you watching the show and jumping in and letting us know how you feel about what you think our thoughts are, but it doesn't make or break us one bit.
I sometimes think people don't realize how much the salary cap increases. A bench player gets $10 to $15 million.
Yeah.
That's just the world we live. The salary cap is 190. What is it again? Hold on. No, that's where they're
80.
The salary cap is, geez, I should have this right here. $154 million. $154 million. $5 million is not a starter. $5 million isn't even like a sixth or seventh man. $5 million is like ninth or 10th man. Money.
Yeah, and Reese does check back in. So you give him credit what credit's due. He does check back in, and he says 13 to 15 is a good deal. I'm talking more along the lines of 20 plus because I don't see him taking less, even if he should.
Well, then that's on him.
That's him. Yeah, we were still though.
I think even at our highest, 20 million was no, that's too much.
That's too much. Yeah, we've given him 18.
I think at one point we were talking 15 to 18 because we thought he might have other suitors. When it became obvious he didn't, we've been in a 13 to 15
Yeah,
range.
No doubt.
If he's determined to get 20 plus, then good luck, buddy.
All right. So we
And I don't even say that like because I'm worried about losing him. I just don't think that's realistic, and he's gonna have to come back to reality.
And I just don't think it's smart, man.
No.
Like you said, the opportunity is not going to be there like it was a season ago. And the shots that he was able to get, it was his team basically at that point of the season. Next summer, yes, people will say he's done things, but I don't think anybody's going to break the bank where the money. Now, look, maybe he looks at what the landscape of the free agent teams might be next summer and say, if I'm going to get this from the Sixers, maybe I'll just go and get that next summer and, again, bet on myself one more time and hope that in a winning environment, showing that I can still average, let's say 15, right? 15 on this team, because they're going to have a lot of double-digit scores if they're healthy enough. If he averages 15 and somebody else can see that maybe leveling up a bit on a much better situation where he's getting 30 minutes a night and can still put up 15 to 18 and the net contribution is there, maybe he does that. But I would think that he would just simply take what's given to him now so you don't risk injury, because anything can happen. You've already bet on yourself once. Don't do it again.
Yep.
That's it for me. All right, our final break here, folks. We're going to get on the other side. Derek doesn't even know. Only Bree and I know.
Oh.
You guys don't know. He knows about it, but he doesn't know that we were jumping into this conversation on the second half of the show. We'll do that on the other side.
This is the problem. I texted Vaughn in the morning. I'm like, look, I think we obviously have to lead in with the Cam Thomas stuff, but we probably need a filler towards the end. I should have probably specified what the filler was.
I've got the filler, everybody.
Oh, boy.
He doesn't know, but he doesn't mind talking about this. Kyle would, but we'll do this on the other side. Let's do it right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast, coming to you live from the Xfinity Lounge.
And guys, believe it or not, back to school season is here, which brings with it new classes, new supplies, and of course, a new sense of independence. And while they're growing up fast, one thing hasn't changed. Back to school shopping still adds up. Backpacks, tech accessories, sneakers, and a pile of supplies that seems to grow every year. That's why this time around, plan ahead by using your TrueMark Financial Visa Credit Union debit card that earns rewards. Every time you use this card and choose credit for those back-to-school purchases, you earn points, whether it's for lunch, gear, headphones, or that hoodie you just had to have. And those points, you can redeem them for cash, gift cards, travel, and more. It feels great knowing you're getting rewarded just for buying the things your kids need anyway. If you're already a TrueMark Financial Credit Union member, be sure to check out your debit card benefits before you start shopping. And if you're not a member, now's a great time to join. Just visit one of TrueMark Financial's 24 branches or head to TrueMark.com to open an account today. TrueMark Financial Credit Union is federally insured by the NCUA.
And folks, while we were talking about the game tonight and driving down there and enjoying yourself, it's really sunny out right now. So you might, while you're down there, and I think while Kyle's in the parking lot right now, it's got a Shady Rays on, everybody. You know the moment. It's football time. It's September. So you get a lot of these still very warm days where the sun is out as the game gets started, and certainly on the Sundays as well. And you need to protect your eyes because you're going to be out there for a while, not only in the parking lot, but in the seats watching the game. And you gotta get that glare out of your eyes, and you got to do so with Shady Rays. You know the moment, the one when you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach. Well, these are your favorite sunglasses now, and they are Shady Rays. Then when we found Shady Rays, it changed the game. These sunglasses are made for real life, seriously good looking as well, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive where you have to worry about all this big money that, I got to get these nice shades and they cost so much. No. Do not worry about that because Shady Rays has you covered. Here's the wild part. If you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair, no guilt trip, just simply replacements. So now I actually wear my sunglasses without fear on hikes, concerts, shows, trips to Las Vegas with the team here, on the boat, went to the beach for the summer with the family. I have my Shady Rays. So wherever you are, you need to protect your eyes. Shady Rays is the place to go. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer here at PHLY. Head to shadyrays.com. Use code PHLY, surprise, for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Once again, shadyrays.com. Use code PHLY for 35% off. Welcome back, PHLY Sixers podcast. One guy that I do know likes to wear sunglasses where we're not talking about Kyle. This guy's pretty sporty, he thinks, pretty fashionable.
Okay.
Used to play for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Okay.
And man, when we talk free agents, Cam Thomas, Quentin Grimes, Jonathan Kuminga, Josh Giddey, all these players still remaining. Ben Simmons is still out there.
Oh, man.
But now there are reports. Stephen Bondi in New York.
Can I talk about the Phillies instead?
No, you cannot. You can do that later. That was a bad loss last night. It was an annoying loss.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
They did have a really good comeback before then, though.
Yeah,
so.
they did. It looks like, man, that, he is really fallen. So here's what I've seen. Stephen Bondi in New York saying that the report was he's really considering retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Windhorst was on an Australian television show, sports show, talking about how Ben Simmons' name has really started to take a deep dive over the last few years to where it is right now, where he may not retire specifically, but wait until later in the process of the season getting underway to find himself back on the floor because no team is looking for a point guard. He brought up Russell Westbrook's situation currently right now. But if they're looking for maybe a power forward that they can use with a certain set of skills that they can implement into their situation, Ben Simmons might be that. And then there was the other report from our friend at DLLS, Mark Stein, and the Substack as well. Mark Stein reporting that his agent, Bernie Lee, has parted ways with Ben Simmons. Oh, how the mighty Derek has fallen from his great career, or just really, he had a really good run with the Sixers, Bree, right?
Yeah.
With all the good things that he has done from 17-18 Rookie of the Year, all-rookie team that same year, 3-time All-Star, 2-time All-Defensive Player, and All-NBA third team, if I remember correctly, in 1920. Ben Simmons had a really good resume pretty early, and I'm not even, like Drew says, bring him back. I'm not even saying that. I'm just looking at.
In a second, Kyle would lose his mind.
So
and
just
I'm here
for content
that.
purposes, that would be fun.
Absolutely.
That would be fun.
He'd get so angry.
How the mighty have fallen, man. Remember the conversations, radio shows I had to do, podcasts you and Rich might have done, you writing about it. Whose team is it? Tweets that you had to put out there.
Conversations within the front office at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at where we are right now.
No, it is.
Even when people said he doesn't want to be here, he only wants to be in Los Angeles, we don't even know if he wants to play anymore.
Yeah. So I think there's 3 major catalysts for his fall from grace, right? There is the back injury. There is his fear of shooting and going to the free throw line. And then there is the league figuring him out. Give me a percentage weight on each of those 3 for the reason he's gotten to this point. Like, what do you think is the driving force behind it?
I would say, wow. I would say it
is.
Because
these explanations are never like one thing.
Yeah,
it's
and
always a
this
combination.
is tough because if the back, we take him at his word. The back is the back, and that is taken away from what he was able to do with the speed and all that stuff. I would say it's 25% the back.
Okay.
I think a big number of that has to be the back.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to just simply being out there on the floor, now we got to go to some much higher numbers of the fear of being maybe somewhere in that 35% range. The fact that he won't shoot and go to the free throw line, that goes right hand in hand with the fear.
Yep.
So you can even put that in a separate category of 35% right there, and then just divvy up some other things to get to the 100%. But I stood. While we didn't root for the Sixers or anything like that, we evaluate players. I would always stand up for Ben Simmons as the player, even when he would frustrate the hell out of me because he wouldn't shoot the basketball and he was afraid to get to the free throw line, and back and forths with the coach on and off the record things of what they wanted him to do. But my pushing of, but if he's here, why doesn't he do this too? Engaging conversations, but never did I expect in year 9 or whatever it is for him that we would be talking about him retiring potentially and switching agents once again. And quite frankly, Derek, just getting a 1-year minimum deal. And I think some pride is in that too. Yeah, that he believes that he's worth more and he does not want to sign a 1-year veteran minimum deal to play whatever role he's going to play. I think that's something else in there too. So I stood for that guy. And even when the things happened in 21-22 against the Atlanta Hawks when they were the number 1 seed, while I said I have no more fight to argue with anybody about why he should stay on the basketball team, It was time for him. He needed to change the scenery, and the Sixers also needed to change the scenery. I was definitely with that. Never did I think that he was the franchise changer that Joel Embiid was, but I thought he was unique.
Oh,
With
he was
what
definitely
did.
unique.
In a good way. I thought
In
he was
both
unique
ways,
in a
yeah.
good way
Yeah.
where you can overcome some of those flaws or the uniqueness that were the negatives of his basketball game and his personality. And my thing that I used to always say, as you know, and some of the listeners that were with us on the radio, aggressive Ben Simmons is the best Ben Simmons. I always thought if he just did that, you would get a fantastic version of that player despite the outside shooting, but simply working on the free throw percentage and upping that. He could still be a terror defensively and then be that player on offense where he would do just enough to still get you, Derek, 16 to 17 points without shooting and a 60%, 65% free throw percentage that would still get those. And that would do you some really good things for the regular season and in the postseason, but you needed to definitely do something to have a backup to have on the floor in those situations where it was Scott Brooks fouling him 40 times to get into the free throw line to make it a foul Ben Simmons type of game. Even with all of that, I didn't think, and I see you 215, Jay, I didn't think we would be in this spot. I didn't.
Yeah. And look, I think Ben's tough because on the one hand, right, like he let you down in a big way.
He did.
And when we start looking at retrospectives on, if this era never results in the kind of team success that you want, his name is going to be front and center to all of that. And, I've mentioned a lot of the, there is some increased pressure or increased angst toward Joel Embiid because some of the people around him failed. And Ben Simmons is one of the primary people of that. On the other hand, I do think it's part of our job to at least try to understand the people we cover and not just go to the simplest, easiest reactionary solutions. And I do think there's a big part of me that feels like he has had a fear of failure, that a mentality that he was never able to overcome. And I'm sympathetic towards that. And I think it's most people who are as scared to shoot and as scared to be on an island as he is don't have the physical tools or the ability or the playmaking or the defense to get to that level of basketball. You typically get weeded out before you even get to the point. He was able to get to an all-star. He was able to get to all defensive teams, so all NBA teams without ever having addressed this. And I think as he progressed further and further,
look at this clip that Bree's playing.
Incredible. The lights just became. I mean, and there's people who want to say, "Oh, he wasn't good at all," and any of this stuff. No, he was one of the best defenders in the world, legitimately. And his court vision was incredible. And half court,
Luka Doncic fits.
Half court, maybe that never materialized because it was hard for him to create in half court without the shot. But the passing was there, and I just wish that they could have gotten him on the right trajectory, when he was growing up, when he was a kid. I do always wonder, because he mentioned when he was going to college that he was born right-handed and taught to dribble and shoot with his left hand. And at the time, they kind of brought that up as oh, I'm ambidextrous, so this is a good thing. But I do wonder, and I talked to people in the Hinkie front office, because remember, they were scouting him. They had that number one pick, or they were that front office up until a month before the draft, so they were scouting him heavily. I talked to people with the Colangelo front office. There were many people who openly wondered whether or not getting him to switch back to his right hand would have been good for him long term.
It's too late. Even though that was a strong hand, if that was the case, it was too late.
But even just the fact that they were having that conversation shows you how much I think that could have actually been a factor into where he got to where he was. And, it is going back to the question I asked you. I think 60% is fear of failure. And not being able to get that shot, because that impacts not just the shot and the spacing and all of that, his ability to create off the pick and roll, but also just he stopped attacking the rim. And then probably maybe 30% is the injury. Because look, he was, all of his faults, he was a legitimate all-world defender. One of the best, most versatile in the world. He was not that the last couple of years. And I think that was largely the back. But it is just such a shame. And he was so unique.
He was
Like, and he was so
very
much
good.
more of a willing shooter in high school than he was in college.
Yep.
He was so much more of a willing shooter in college than he was in the summer league. He was more willing shooter in the summer league than he was in the NBA. Like, he got less and less and less willing to shoot as time went on, and it should be the opposite of that. And I just wish either whether that is fixing his shot early on in his career before he got to the brightest and biggest stage, or whether that was, whatever was holding him back mentally, man, if he could address that, he could have been just
When you say
absolutely
early in his
incredible.
career, do you mean like his dad, the family, and
Yeah.
all that stuff before
High
he got
school,
to
junior high school,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Because again, I think when you get to the pros, I remember having this conversation with a pro player in the 2010s. We were talking about this. They said when you get to the pros, you just don't do that. It's too late.
Yeah.
You don't change people. You adjust and tweak things of their shot. You don't flat out change it.
I mean, they tried it with someone like Tristan Thompson, right?
Yeah, but he
was a non-shooter.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
you could argue Ben was a non-shooter too, but I think people expect
he's a
that he would-
perimeter player.
Yeah.
So yeah, to
No,
your
it
point,
would be very rare.
Yeah, so
like I said, I brought it up mostly to show the gravity and the severity of their concerns with the shot and the drastic measures they were debating going.
And I never, because while his elbow was always out when he shot,
disaster.
It was a disaster and all that stuff. But to your point, if he just simply got over the fear of it not looking perfect, it went in a decent amount of times when he wasn't playing in the games and actually shooting the basketball in those runs. That I'll say this again, folks. I said this before, and Derek is right there, and I'm saying it because he was right there with me. He was on the one end of the floor, I was on the other end of the floor after a practice, and he was just. They were running him through those outside drills. He was shooting those shots, knocking them down. I'm on the same end that he's in. Derek was standing by the door. They didn't tell us to leave or anything.
Yeah.
And we were just watching. And he was just making these shots, man. Just making these shots. And I always talk about my buddy JC, James Clark, who was his workout trainer. He and DeJounte Murray for Clutch leading into the draft. And that Chad Ford video that was released of he and DeJounte Murray running through the drills with JC and knocking down those shots. And it was like, okay, he's not afraid to do it. And unfortunately, he was afraid to do it. And then the back thing came about. Because I used to, one guy nationally that always talked about him shooting left-handed. And I'm like, come on, man, whatever. And simply because it was too late.
Yep.
And he could already shoot with his left, so you don't adjust that. He's already shown he can use his right hand finishing at the rim, things of that nature. He can dribble with his right, so you don't change anything else. Stop with all right, he should be shooting. Sure, he can be ambidextrous and he started off as a right-hander, but you don't change it that late in the game. And if he got over that, maybe things would be different. Do you think he plays this year? It's a tough question, I know.
I mean, it's hard to know because I think Boston showed some interest a little while ago, a couple weeks ago. I think the Knicks have reportedly expressed some interest, but will he play for the minimum? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
Once he went to the Clippers and didn't do anything, I was like, all right, this might be it. That was a really good spot for him, and it just did not work out.
No,
Did not work out.
It's
And they
wild.
had no interest in bringing him back.
Yep.
So that should say a lot. So, yeah, sorry to throw that on you, man, and spring that on
No,
you.
I mean,
but
look, I'm happy because I do think
that was one that was in the news, so we had to talk about it.
And JJ used to always bring up he's in a glass house and there's nobody that really gets through to him like that. And he's able to block everyone out. He meant it in kind of a good way, but it almost did feel like he was in a glass house in which he almost became standoffish, I think, because I think when you're insecure about things, you tend to become a little bit standoffish. And I think, as much as he would be tough to deal with, there was almost a human element to covering him. And I do, I hold no ill will. It disappoints me because I think the team could have succeeded a lot. But I just really, to me, it's more of a what if of what he could have been, because I really do think it could have been special.
SB Cole says one of the top 5 fall-offs in sports.
Well, the problem is when you have
I agree.
no shot and you are completely limited as a scorer because you won't even attack the rim, well, then you have very little margin for error. And once, if you go from 100% of yourself physically to 80% because of that back, all of a sudden you barely even look like an NBA player.
And then so many people bring up the fact that like 215J is in there talking about it. A few others mentioning that he doesn't love the game. That was always a thing that was talked about surrounding him, that he just doesn't love basketball.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that I've always pushed back on just because I don't see people buy in defensively like that if they don't love the game. I really do think it's much more of a mental block, a fear of failure, something of that sort, than it is a pure love of basketball. Like, you don't usually see people who defend their tail off and who are setup men and are willing passers like that. They're not usually described as not loving basketball. And like, he kept himself in perfect shape. I really do think that he just was scared, which you can't be as an athlete. You just can't be.
The thing with I used to always look at, all right, as you adjust in years and years and keep going, the Draymond Green aspect of it, where, hey man, he wouldn't shoot either, but he found ways to still different mentality, totally different mentality. Those two guys are on completely different planets when it comes to a mentality and how you get there. You had to simply, Draymond Green had to earn everything to get to where he is. But the positionally, like being in the middle of the floor, making those passes, setting those screens, still being able to guy that can roll, and with the passing ability, all of that, being in the middle of the floor when somebody's cutting along the baseline, bang, your passing ability to lob over the top, or a guy cutting along the baseline for a finish. Those things just look like they were there for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. In that role.
But even with Draymond, like Draymond was at a point where he was shooting like 3 or 4 threes a game at like 32%.
But how long did it take for him to get there?
Well, but that was kind of like where you hoped Ben would eventually get to, and he just never got even close. And also Ben wanted to be on ball a little more than Draymond did. And Draymond's just a generational, like, think the game kind of guy. Like, his positional defense was elite of the elite of the elite.
Yep. All right, so we had to talk about that. It's in the news a little bit. No agent, Bernie Lee moving on from Ben Simmons. Who knows if he's going to retire? We'll see what happens with Ben Simmons going forward. Bree has been flashing up and showing everybody about the T-shirts as you get ready for the game tonight. Make sure you go to allphly.com, hit the merch drop-down button, and you can look at our 3 new shirts as we get prepared for the Birds and Dallas tonight, opening up the NFL season at the link as they drop the banner as world champions from last season, defending their crown against the hated Dallas Cowboys. So go to check it out once again, allphly.com. Sign up to become a diehard member, $36 intro offer that's available for you to do so as well. So you can get the great written content from EJ, Bo, Fran, and Les Bowen. Basketball side, our guys here from Derek and Kyle, Charlie on hockey, and Jim Salisbury for the Phillies. Allphly.com. Please go sign up to do so and get yourself a shirt while you're in there to get ready for the season. All right, Bree, let's get ready to give some of these other things that we wanted to talk about so we can close out the show. Everybody can get ready for the game tonight. As let's start off with our buddy Tyrese Maxey, Bree. Let's start off with Tyrese Maxey. He tweeted a little bit earlier, and he says, "Philly fam, y'all know I love you guys dearly." And he had to put those in all caps because he knew what he was doing when he tweeted this, obviously. And I'm so happy the city got a ring. But today we beefing. I'm not going to say it. You see what he says. He's rooting for his hometown.
You want to say it? Come on, Devon, read it. I want to be able to clip you saying this.
He's rooting for his hometown team. What do you make of that? Because I like when the athletes stick to what they grew up with.
No, I would never.
Root for your team.
I would never want Tyrese to change his team.
Never.
You were a fan growing up, part of your identity, part of your shared history with your friends and family. Don't change that.
No.
And for the most part, I never want to tell people not to express who they am in any capacity. But maybe that's one you just keep to yourself a little bit. Or at the very least, just don't tweet it out. Wear a hat, walk around the city, okay. But you're not going to get the greatest reactions on Twitter from it. So I am pro Tyrese being a Dallas Cowboys fan.
He has to rep his team.
I don't ever want to tell people, like I said, not to express who they are. But, he had some follow-up tweets of what do you want? Well, when you express that you're a Cowboys fan, you say you're going to get a little pushback.
He's got to rep his team. I don't mind it. Everybody knows he's a Cowboys fan. And
he's been from day one.
And he roots for the Eagles on the other 15 games.
Yeah.
So it's all good. It's
And
no
luckily,
big
we
deal.
never have to worry about a playoff matchup, so you don't even have to worry
You don't
about
even
that.
have to worry
Yeah.
about that and put Tyrese Maxey.
Just
in that tough
maybe
spot.
not opening night. Tyrese.
Yes,
Maybe
not
opening
open.
night.
Yeah, wait for the next game.
Yeah, maybe not celebration night too.
Yeah,
Like, you know.
is he there tonight? I think he's going to be there tonight.
Oh,
There's no
boy.
way he's going to miss both of his teams playing against the Thursday night. They don't have a game. They don't have to worry about that. He's going to be there for sure tonight. Maybe we'll see him. Maybe we'll see him tonight. Right. That's why we respect Mike Scott beating up, fighting Eagle fans. He was a Washington fan. Nobody minded it, and it was funny when he got into the fight in the parking lot. All
Yeah,
right.
but Washington's just so much different because they've been irrelevant for so long.
I know.
Then again, it's not like the
But that was
Cowboys are
funny as hell,
relevant.
though.
Yeah,
that was a good one. All right, let's go to the next Sixers thing, Bree. Our friend Kate Scott calls the games. Well, Derek, she's going to be calling a last season, and I think this she's been doing preseason games. This season, she's going to be the first woman to call an NFL game for Westwood One, and that is going to be in week number 4. Congrats to Kate.
huge congrats to Kate. And I know there's there's a lot of strong opinions on broadcast teams in every city and every market. I think Kate does a phenomenal job. I think she is one of the best people you will meet. And her love of sports is truly infectious. I think she has worked her tail off to get here. I think this kind of exposure is great for her, and I'm really, really happy for her.
Yep. So congrats, Kate.
A real easy person to root for when you get to know her.
No doubt. Real
bit.
friend to the show. She's fantastic. She's an even better person when you get to know her. I'm sure many of you have met her in the arena or maybe out and about in the city. She is a fantastic person. So congrats to Kate for being the first woman to call an NFL regular season game. She will do that in week number 4.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
I can't believe it should never have taken this long.
It's
Never.
taken a while. So congrats to Kate for sure. All right, final thing here we got to tell you about before we get to roll call. Derek, do you have the names for roll call ready?
I got some.
All right,
I
so-
probably didn't do a good enough job, but we'll do it.
Here's what we want to tell you. Tonight, as we will sign off, the Flyers start at 4. After the Flyers, it will be the Eagles for the pregame coverage. So here's the pregame team getting you ready for football tonight. That will be Jamie, Bo, EJ from the stadium, and Fran has a segment as well. So make sure you tune into the pregame show for everything for the Birds. Get it ready for the squad. Halftime, Jamie and Bo for instant reaction for all things Birds and what's going on. Why was this defensive? Why Sidney Brown's on the field or Dory Jackson? You don't like those two guys on the defensive side? Well, guess what, everybody? It's week 1. Vic Fangio will adjust, and we'll see what happens later on down the line. Maybe they'll make some adjustments and put some different personnel in there. So we'll talk about that at halftime with Jamie and Bo. And post-game from the studio as well, you're going to have Bo. Vinny Curry is back, everybody. Jamie, Les Bowen. EJ from the stadium. Fran joining from home to do the film breakdown. We got you covered with the best football coverage here at PHLY. That's the PHLY Eagles podcast. Make sure you're all tuned in as the Birds stomp the Dallas Cowboys tonight.
Easy.
Let's get to the world famous. We love you all. Thank you. It's the roll call.
All right, we will start it off with Eugene, Rich P,
What up,
Theo,
Rich?
who I'm not going to screw up your name now, Theo, because YouTube
Thank you,
finally
YouTube.
fixed the names.
What up, Theo?
Jess with the Purple Heart,
She's got the Purple Heart.
Winona, Linwen, Dave P,
What up, Lee?
Sean Ford,
Dave.
Val as always,
Yes, good to see Val in here.
X-Man,
X, we got to throw him up.
Drew 2400, one of the few people that still have numbers in their names, but at least it's better than it was before.
What up, Drew?
T. Harris, 215 J. Philly,
What up, Jay?
Marcus Blackstock.
What up, Mark?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, it's all good.
SB Cole,
I'm
Brian-
always interrupting you. We're doing the roll call.
Brian Knight,
What up, B Knight?
Keith B.
Keith. Sing that R&B song, Keith.
I'm going to say this one. It pains me. It pains me. Densley Richard, who is a Giants fan.
Why did I not? Did we not know that?
I don't know. He said go Giants.
All right, you can say that in week 1, but after week
Boo!
2, you know you're done.
Provolone John
What up, Provolone?
and Darkness.
Turn the lights down. Ben Simmons' career?
Oh, man.
That's a shame, but it is. All right, turn the lights down for Cam Thomas. 1 year left with the Nets. We'll see you in another uniform. All right, everybody, make sure you go like and subscribe to the show. And when you do, you hit the bell icon. to get that alert to let you know that it is, in fact, showtime. We thank everybody as we broadcast here live from the Xfinity Lounge. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. with all of us. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
We all silly like the mayor.